Hello and welcome to the Kosh. I'm your host, Timber Smith. And once again, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. You know what, this morning, if you guys didn't know, when I really like to record the show is I like to do it early in the morning because I find that that's when the energy is the best and we want to give you our best. And this morning, like most episodes, I am super excited about who we have as a guest. This week's guest is Grace Lim. Grace, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We're going to jump right in. All right. And we're jumping right in because if you know anything about Grace don't mess around. And she was like, let's get her done. I was like, yes, we can make that happen. That's facts.
Bruh.
All right. Grace, can you please share a little something about yourself and what is your connection to the Kosh?
I teach at the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh. I've taught in the journalism department, and currently I teach a class for our sophomores, a class called Telling Stories for Fun, Profit, and World Peace, and it's for students of all disciplines, and it's about community engagement and the power of storytelling.
Okay. Give us more, Grace. Were you born, raised the Kosh? Where did you come from?
Okay, so my journey to Oshkosh really began in a tiny island country called Taiwan, which is about 90 miles off the coast of China. And my parents, the culture that we came from is a culture that values the male child.
Ooh.
And so here's the thing: my parents had a son, my older brother, and me. But my parents did not really believe in that school of thought. They believed that both their children, deserve equal opportunity, they deserve a chance to thrive and be productive citizens of society. So my dad came to America to find the streets that's paved with gold, the image of America way back when, right? So
right.
He came to America to earn. He was actually a poor pastor in the mountains of Taiwan, and he was very fortunate to get an education, and then he came to America to earn his master's degree. He was a pastor, and got a master's degree in divinity. Then he, worked to bring my mom over, and then I came to America with my brother when we were 7 and 5 years old, and we love this country. We're proud to be little Americans then, and proud to be American now, and I love this country that I had adopted. This, our family gave us these amazing opportunities to be truly productive citizens of the society. So from there, it's a truly ridiculously long story, but I'm going to shorten this. I majored in journalism at the University of Texas in Austin, and I earned my master's degree at Columbia University in New York City. My then fiance and I had an agreement. He followed me to Miami, where I worked for the Miami Herald as a reporter.
Oh, the Miami Herald?
Yep.
That's big.
Yeah. And so I worked there, and our agreement was for him to earn his master's degree, and he wanted to be a teacher. And then we were planning on going back to Austin, where we both earned our undergraduate degrees. And but then his advisor convinced him to earn his PhD. And for those of you who have gone to a graduate program, it's one of those very, it's a journey where you don't know where it's going to end, actually. So actually, where it ended was here in Oshkosh. My husband, he was going to be a high school teacher in Austin, but then when he ended up getting his PhD, you go where the job is, and the job was here. And he came home one day, said, honey, we're going to Oshkosh, and here we are.
Were you like, where's Oshkosh?
Exactly. I seriously did not know anything about Wisconsin other than the Green Bay Packers and cheese. And maybe Oshkosh Bagosh. And we had two young boys then. They were how old? 5 and 3, 6 and 3. And I said, where the heck is Oshkosh? But I got to tell you, we moved up here in 2002, and we love it here. I mean, I tell my friends who live in the big cities and everything, I said, this is the place. This is the place where the saying, it takes a village to raise your children, is absolutely true. We created a village of friends, and we raised our children together, and this is just a wonderful place to be.
I agree. There's something to be said for that, right? The Kosh has that feel, you know, and you can find your village here, you know, and I think it's hilarious that you had the stereotypical view that I think everyone has when you hear Oshkosh and you're not from, or Wisconsin even, and you're not from Wisconsin, and you're like, isn't that like just farms and cows and cheese and the Packers?
Right.
That is hilarious. All right. I want to mention one more thing. So just because I think it's cool for the listeners to know that you are a huge part of the Humans of Oshkosh series.
Oh, yeah. No, I can't believe I forgot that. I am the founder of the Humans of Oshkosh, which is on Facebook. So all of you listening, go to Facebook and follow us.
Yeah.
And what it is a, it was a takeoff from the Humans of New York Facebook page, and that was started, I think, in 2010 by this young man named Brandon Stanton. And this guy, he was only like 26 years old back then, and he was working in Chicago as in high finance. So this was a young kid, but he was like 26, 27, and he was like, working in this high finance, making big bucks. But then the crash, he got laid off, and he didn't know what to do, and he decided to go into his passion, which is actually photography. So he moved to New York and started taking pictures of people that he would meet in public places, and he was just taking pictures of them and then posting them, but he was not getting any traction. He was trying to drum up business as a photographer. Then what happened was he created a page called Humans of New York, and started to not only take the pictures of these people that he would meet, he would talk to them and then write their stories in their own voice and then post them. And then it just started blowing up, and it was amazing. He would meet so many different people and get people to share their stories. And then when I saw that, I was like, wow, this is really cool. As a former reporter, I still have this urge to talk to people, and I don't want to freak people out when I go up to strangers and talk to them, but with an excuse like, hey, I am the instructor at UW Oshkosh. My students and I produce a page called Humans of Oshkosh. Could I talk to you for a couple of minutes? It was cool that people would talk. So since we've had this page since we started in 2014, and we have produced more than 4,000 stories, and I've just finished.
That's 4,000?
4,000 stories, and produced 8 books. So, I mean, I'm incredibly proud of my students' work, and I am so proud of this project. And we have done, I got to tell you, we've talked to people from, the governor of Wisconsin to people who are recovering from addiction to our local heroes, our first responders, and we have talked to a lot of people. And the whole idea was for my students to go out and see the world from multiple people's perspective and learn about their stories and be connected as a community.
I got to say, as someone who's been lucky enough to have done a few of the Humans of Oshkosh interviews and keeps up with it and follows it, it's amazing. And the stories, I mean, they're just so raw, authentic, and the picture helps. Like that, to connect the narrative with a picture so you can see the individual, like it's just really cool. And I like the fact, like, sometimes there's like not a beginning or an end. There's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah. So I tell my students that we're not getting the person's entire life story. We're just going to get into a glimpse into that person's life. And one of my favorite stories, can I share that with you?
Yeah, no. Well, you're sharing it with the Kosh listeners. Let's go for it.
So one of my favorite stories is it's actually occurred in the first first semester, we didn't know what we were doing, and I just, I had to set parameters for my students. Like if I go out and just say, you need to come back with 10 stories of people, and they would just go to talk to their boyfriend, their girlfriend, maybe their parents, and then and their dorm mate, whatever. But it would be a very narrow view of a 18-year-old, 19-year-old life. Okay. And then, so what I had done was I said, okay, you need to talk to somebody who works behind a counter. And because oftentimes those who are being served forget that the people behind the counter are those who are serving us. And they are also people, and they have their own lives and their own stories. I wanted them to also talk to somebody over the age of 70 who is not their grandparent, because again, the youth, we value youth and beauty and vitality, and somehow a segment of our population that does not fall into that are forgotten. So, and then I had them talk to somebody who wears a uniform. Again, sometimes the uniform, you forget the person behind that uniform. So I had all these parameters, and one of them actually is, find a person of color to talk to them, because Oshkosh is pretty homogenous. We're talking, I think it's like 93% white, and then there's the rest of us. And for those of you who don't know, I am of Taiwanese descent, and so I know there are people of color here.
we do exist. It is not. We're becoming a prominent force in Oshkosh.
That's right. So yeah. So one of my students came back with this really great story, and she had just attended a wedding over the weekend, and she came back, and the story was this. She had asked the person a question: what advice would you give to these newlyweds? And the woman, and you could tell that she's an older, a senior, and she said something like, don't ever go to bed angry. But there's a time when my husband and I didn't sleep for like a month and a half. Which just made me laugh, right? But it was like, wow, that is, just those two lines showed so much about this woman's, her life, her marriage, her sense of humor. And I was like, wow, this is great. So I told the students, stand up and tell your classmates, how did you get the story? She said, I looked around for the oldest person in the room, and I walked up to her and says, hello, are you over the age of 70?
That's it, huh? It's just that simple. Hey, so
well, that was like, oh man, I gotta go 10 steps back, and I gotta teach them how to say hello. My name is Grace Lim. I am a student at UW Oshkosh. We're doing this project. You don't go up to strangers and say, hello, are you over the age of 70? But you know what? It worked. The woman laughed and say yes, and then share that really, really awesome tidbit about her and her husband and her marriage. So I just love that.
I think people are very understanding of students and very forgiving. That's fabulous. Okay, are you ready to jump in?
Sure.
All right, segment 1. What in the world is going on with? That's where you start off with the phrase, what in the world is going on with? And you tell us what's on your mind.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, you didn't waste no time. Jump in. Let's talk about it.
Oh my gosh. I have been a fan. Moving to Wisconsin, you have to. It's law. Once you cross the borders, you got to be a Packers fan. You just can't.
That's true.
You can't do anything else. And my husband and I, we are all in. Actually, I'm a more all in than he is. I am there watching every game. I am yelling at the TV. In fact, I remember the year that we won the Super Bowl. All my friends were together, and all the women were in one big room. We got the big TV because the husbands cannot stand our screaming and yelling, and they had to go to another room and watch it on a tiny little TV.
Oh, you took TV control.
Yeah, so Aaron, though, I know the summer had been crazy. Is he coming back? What's up with that? But I've been on Team Aaron this whole time. I said, you know what? He's going to come back. It's going to be okay. He's just feeling a little, upset. But this latest thing, man, I just say, oh, gosh, I know there are going to be people out there who don't agree with what I believe in, and I believe in science and I believe in the vaccines. But the thing is, I don't even care. I mean, truth be told, if he does not want to be vaccinated, fine. Just be truthful about it. Don't let people believe that you are vaccinated and you're following the rules. I mean, you have rules. I mean, there's a rules for in his organization. Okay, so the betrayal was more of that he's not the fact that he's not vaccinated, but more of the fact that he lied and then put other people in jeopardy and perhaps our season. And now I'm totally conflicted because I love the Packers. I mean, is Aaron Rodgers the Packers per se? I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, I actually was thinking with my friends that maybe we don't watch when he's actually holding the ball, but when we can open our eyes when somebody else is holding the ball.
That seems like a lot of work.
I know.
He holds the ball a lot.
I know. And here's another thing about society too. I mean, it's like we love winners, man. We do. We forgive a lot if you're a winner, which is and there's some that's another conversation we can have another day. But so I'm afraid that my thing with Aaron. I mean, we kind of broke up, but. Oh, gosh, if we start winning again, I'm going to say, is everything forgiven? I don't know. I'm conflicted.
I think you are in the same space as the rest of Wisconsin, or at least some of Wisconsin, because some Wisconsin don't care. Some Wisconsin is defending it to the end, and some Wisconsin actually thinks it was about being vaccinated or not. And I'm exactly where you're at. I'm not a huge Packers fan, but, I'm born and raised Wisconsin, so I'm Packer fan enough.
Oh my gosh!
Well, it's
I don't even know why we're friends.
Well, because we are. We're part of that 7%. That's really what it is, Grace.
We have to stick together.
We got to stick together. But I was frustrated with it because of that. Just like I find it contradictory, like that societally, these same people who are saying, well, it's his choice to get vaccinated or not. And I agree with that. It is totally his choice to get vaccinated, but it's not his choice to follow the rules. And these are the same people who are constantly like, well, if the people would just follow the rules, these things wouldn't happen to them. Right. Same people, but they're willing to overlook this. Yeah, no,
that's because he's a winner. You know what I mean? He's a star. I mean, it's like we have this in society. I think we do have blinders for winners. Yeah, and that is, yeah. I like I said. So tomorrow's going to be interesting. I don't know. I have no idea how I'm going to do because I'm going to cheer for the Packers. You know what I mean? I'm going to cheer for the Packers no matter what.
Well, I tell you, the way my wife and I do think this is the way most Wisconsin is going to do it, and even myself. Once he came out and said I was wrong and I screwed up, I'm good with that. Right? Just own it. Just own the mistake. Oh, well, because I don't think we can hold. I'm not trying to write it off because I'm not writing it off because at the end of the day, like there's some privilege there, right? That you thought you could get away with this. Like you just didn't care. Like you knew you weren't being honest, and you put it in our face, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing is that if he were following the NFL protocols, which they came up with their own rules.
Right.
He belongs to that organization, and he was not following it. But it's not just not following it. He was putting, we can get into this, but he was putting other people at risk, and yeah. So I mean, but you know what though? I love the Packers. I'm gonna stick with the Packers, and whoever's our quarterback, I'm going to cheer for that. The team.
Fair enough.
Gosh.
Fair enough. Okay. What in the world is going on with this Kyle Rittenhouse trial? Like, I'm going to put this out here, y'all, because I'm feeling some kind of way about this. Look, if you ain't figured it out he's about to get off. I don't care what nobody say. Yeah. And it is the consensus that there's a lot of feelings out here that this dude's finna get off. And I don't want to ever see a young person throw away their life, right? I don't think that's a good look. I'm I'm tripping about the trial, but I'm tripping about the judge.
Oh,
like this judge feels biased.
Oh God.
The stuff he's saying just feels biased.
This situation is bigger than really just this trial. I mean, this is more of, we need to elect officials who will be appointing, judges. I mean, like truly fair judges and, qualified judges. And then also for us, for voting for elected officials, we have to. First of all, we have to exercise our this our amazing privilege to be able to vote,
right?
And we should all vote. And but gosh, this trial is amazing in the sense that I can't help but think that if this young man had been of a different race, and we would be talking a different story here.
Trial wouldn't even have needed to happen. It'd have been done. And I want to be clear to the Kosh listeners out there. For me, this is not about a weapon thing. Like, I'm a weapon dude. And so, like, this isn't about that. I do have a problem with someone crossing our borders to come police Wisconsin people.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Oh, not only that, but with a weapon that he was not even legally able to own.
Right. And so, look, I'm pretty pro weapon, but I ain't for that. Once again, a bunch of rules broken, and exceptions and excuses being made.
Yes.
Exercise. Absolutely. This is the exercise of privilege, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
All I want is fair.
Yeah.
I just want fair.
I wonder what the families of the people who were the victims really, and the judge had said. I mean, I had ordered. I mean, this is a crazy thing. He has ordered that the people who were shot cannot be called victims.
Right.
They could be called rioters, and I can't remember the other one.
It was. You're right. It was rioters and one other derogatory term. To me, if you're going to throw out terms, throw them all out.
I'm like, hey, they were shot,
right,
and killed,
right.
And one of them wasn't armed. I mean, I'm like, okay, all right.
Right, they didn't shoot themselves. I don't care who you are. If you get shot, you're a victim.
So yeah, that trial is just berserko, and I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen, and it's yeah, I just don't know, and the idea of privilege is absolutely there, and the idea of remorse is not there. I mean, absolutely not. I mean,
nope.
The fact that
remorse.
take away a two people's lives. I mean, and then wounded another gravely, and absolutely no remorse was shown. I mean, I'm thinking, wow, okay. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy.
You know what frustrates me even more is I'm always frustrated when things put Wisconsin in the national spotlight and we look like we just don't look right.
No, we
right?
don't.
And this trial where we let somebody from another state, underage, who shouldn't be able to legally own this weapon, and this judge is basically clearly leaning to a certain direction, we as Wisconsin don't look right.
Yep.
And I'm too proud about my state for us to allow this kind of foolishness. And that's where I stand with it.
Yeah, I mean, just one last thing is that this is, if something like that happens, then this is the precedence.
Right.
Now, I mean, go to Wisconsin, do what you want, you'll get off.
Yeah, really. That's what that. Unless.
Okay, right. Yeah, unless you're of a certain pigmentation.
That's right. Unless your tan is right. Unless you got a tan. That's what I'm gonna say.
That's right.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have that. Why were we picking like these crazy topics?
What do you mean? First of all, let me just say this once again, as I always tell the Kosh listeners, hey, Kosh listeners, if you've got something to say, if you would like to share your thoughts on this subject matter, please do not hesitate to email us at askthekosh@gmail.com. And once again, that's askthekosh@gmail.com. We want to hear other views. We want to hear how you feel about it, whether you agree, disagree, or if you just think the topic is too tough to talk about. We are open to it all. All right. Ready for the next one. Word association. So just tell me what you think about when we say these words. First word is food.
Fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, and corn. That's my favorite meal ever. And I got to tell you, my best friend used to make that for me on my birthday, but now she won't because she owns chickens, and now they're like her pets, and I'm not allowed to have chicken anymore.
Bruh.
What? So because she decides to own chickens, she won't fry your chicken no more?
No, and that's my she said, you got to pick up a new favorite birthday meal. And I'm like, really, really sad. But the good news is Mike's place in Oshkosh has this amazing roasted chicken, which I had the other day, just because me and my husband, and we had, it's not my birthday, but I felt like I needed some fried chicken in my life. So we got an 8-piece and I ate like 5.
Ooh.
Bruh.
Actually, I'm gonna celebrate that. I'm gonna throw out there. Hey, don't you do Parnell's? I mean, Parnell's has the best Sunday chicken.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
You've never heard?
No,
Okay,
I gotta put down Parnell's.
Yeah, let me break that down. That's Sunday, and in our household we call it cheap chicken because it's probably the most affordable chicken meal, and they do a superb job, and it's on Sundays, and it feels very family in Parnell. So I got love for Parnell. So I'm gonna share that one with you. You need to go check that out.
Absolutely.
All right. Cocktail or beer?
Oh gosh, cocktail. And then I have 2. I'm gonna brandy old fashioned sweet, which I learned about in Wisconsin. That's a Wisconsin drink, and I'll tell you why that I learned that. I was at in California in LA. And we were playing Atlanta Falcons, but that was one of those bad playoffs games. And I was trying to find a Packer game to watch, and this is in LA. So I finally found a Packer bar, and I got there late because I had to go to church. My dad was the pastor. I had to go to church, so I had to run out of the coffee hour afterwards. Changed into my Packer jersey in the parking lot. Walked in. I was late, and everything was filled. And I was walking around, trying to find somebody who and I finally just saw somebody who's, this family sitting around a makeshift table that was a pool table. And I said, "Do you mind?" I said, "I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I'm homeless. Do you mind if I sit with you?" And they said, "You're from Oshkosh? My dad coached football there back then. He gave me
Oh my God.
I mean, of all the people, and
Oh my God.
yeah, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So they let me sit down there. I ordered a brandy old fashioned sweet, and they did not know how to make it. And I was like, So I had to tell them because I didn't realize that it was not like a drink anywhere. I mean, it's just a Wisconsin drink.
It's very
so,
Wisconsin.
Yes. So that's my drink. And then the other one is Tito's Martini. Dirty.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna totally get down with that, and God bless to the Tito's. All right, streaming.
We're watching right now Living with Yourself with Paul Rudd, who was just recently named the 60th man alive with People magazine, which I totally agree with. And it's awesome. It's a really funny, a little dark show. And you get to not only see one Paul Rudd, you get to see 2. And I'm not going to go further than that.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's what's streaming. What is that on? Is that on Netflix?
Netflix. Yep.
Okay. Shop local.
Oshkosh Food Co-op. I'm a huge fan, and in fact, my students have gone there this semester when they first opened to do a bunch of stories about their employees, and I just love that place, and I love that we have a store that a grocery store that offers so much and promotes the local farmers and our bakers and Oshkosh Food Co-op.
Big time. I'm not gonna lie. My favorite thing to go buy their soap.
Really?
It's a thing about they got this soap and it's round and there's this. If I am correct, it is aloe oatmeal soap.
Ooh.
And I am like, I'm crazy about it. I'm very picky about soap because what you put on your skin, it matters. Like, you just can't go putting anything on your skin. I love the food co-op too. A special shout out to Brenda out there. We're thinking about you. All right. Community.
I've already mentioned this, but I find that, when I think of community like a tribe, I mean, I got to say Packer fans. I mean, everywhere. I mean, on Sundays, I can wear my jersey and go to Pick and Save or go anywhere, and I see somebody else, and we smile at each other, and it's like, yeah, go Pack, and seriously, it's the weirdest thing is like, when you talk about, like the homogeneity of Oshkosh. But when we're all Packers, we're all the same. We all wear the same, green and gold. I mean, we are that pack. Yeah, we are that community. And I find that really fascinating, and I am really proud to be part of it.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to work on my Packer gear. You're making me feel some kind of way, Grace.
Yeah, no, you're an outsider.
Yeah, I'm an outsider.
And if you'll be worse if you were a Bears fan.
No, I'm born and raised in Wisconsin. I'm a Bucks fan.
Okay, all right, no, that's cool.
And I'm born and raised with Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Brewers, the Milwaukee Bucks, like that's near and dear. That's stuff I went to when I was really young.
Sports fans, the community of sports fans is just it's a weird phenomenon.
Yeah. Okay. Students.
Oh man. So, I know you only want a word association, but I have like love and hate and fear and hope. I have those things.
Bruh. That's a lot going on.
I mean, I love my students, but there are times when, oh my goodness. But you know what here? The thing is that there are times when I'm looking at what's happening in our world and I want to shake them. And I'm just going to say, hey man, it's all on you. You have to save us all, from this crazy things that's happening to us.
That's true.
And so that's where my hope and my fear and hope come in. It's like, man, the cliche, the children are our future, and they absolutely are. And I wish I could convey this to my students that they have this amazing power. They have this amazing power to truly do good in our society and for themselves and their own children someday and for each other. So yeah, I got a lot going on with that.
Yeah, no, I love that point of view because the students are the future. And I'm not just talking higher ed students. I'm talking about our students, our children. And we do. They're going to have to save us from ourselves in some ways. But you know what? I do have tons of hope. Beyond hope, actually, just because I think some of the things right now that we're fighting about and we're all in our corners about and partisan about, our kids aren't like hung up on that. Like, you know what I mean? Like just an example, masks. Mm-hmm. Like, you got all these grown folks, old folks, grown folks fighting about this piece of cloth on your face. And the kids, and they fighting on behalf of the kids, and my kid don't want to wear it. The kid don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. You know what they would care about? Kicking it. They were worried about if I put this on my face and I get to kick it with my friends, I get to kick it with my friends. They do not care.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think it's crazy what some of the issues that's going on now. But one thing about the youth I think is really cool, and my kids are 25 and 22, and the thing about being inclusive or having just accepting of people of regardless of their gender, their identity, their race, and my generation, the word gay was used, tossed about as a pejorative. I mean, it's derogative.
It was a slur.
Yeah, it was a slur. And or you make that as a you're so gay or something like that, and that's just like we didn't know what that meant, but it was wrong. My children have friends who are LGBTQIA plus. I mean, and it's just not an issue.
No.
It's like. And I'm thinking, wow, how far have we come, And my kids are hybrids. I mean,
blended. I have a blended child myself.
Yes, yeah, and then things like that. They haven't really. There was no. I mean, at least in Oshkosh, there was really no discrimination in that sort, and they have friends of all shapes and sizes and ilk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that. I just absolutely love that they had they're that more, accepting and open than say you're in my generation.
I would agree with that 100%. And yeah, like my daughter is a total warrior. She is a total ally advocate. She goes hard. Like she ain't trying to hear none of it. And she will come for you if you're talking nonsense. Like and I admire her for it. Like I just sit back and watch it go down. Like don't say something crazy around my daughter, because she, we got family, we got friends. I mean the whole nine, and she's having none of it. She is not the silent type. She is a total person.
That is awesome.
And so that is my hope for the next gen. And that is part of what I was getting at, is like some of the things that we are bickering, pointing things out, being partisan about. Like I really think this next gen is like, that's all stupid. I think they'll find their own thing to fight about, but it ain't going to be those things that they fight about. All right. We are on to the next segment. Kosh Hidden Gems.
I'm sure people already know this, but for those who don't, I love Thunderbird Bakery.
This place keeps coming up. and I'm not going to lie. So, look, Thunderbird, if you out there listening, you have come up on the show as a topic multiple times. We need to have you as guests.
Oh, my gosh. Liz Redmond and her husband are just amazing. And I actually met Liz a few, I don't know how many years ago, when she was actually working out at I can't remember the name. Oh God, this is going to drive me nuts. This organic farm, and then she moved on to a couple other places, and then she started her own business with her husband, and they make. I am not lying, and I am not getting paid. They make the world's greatest cinnamon rolls, and I got to tell you, during this pandemic, they had, people. I gotta say, during the pandemic, I gained so much weight, and I blame my weakness for those cinnamon rolls.
You got to blame something.
So yeah, Thunderbird Bakery. They make great breads. They make the cinnamon rolls, and they are and the croissants. My husband will eat those croissants without putting anything on it. I mean, they're that good. So yes, that's one hidden gem, and then. This is not really new, but I still love it. Sakura has this 3-roll lunch, and I mean I'm talking about a lot of food here, but yeah, they Sakura, the Japanese restaurant, and they make a meal out of this lunch, and this is something that would people would pay like $40, or more, like in New York City or something like that. But it'll fill you up. 3 rolls and soup and a salad. I mean, can't beat it.
No, that is a fabulous lunch. My daughter is like, she went there so much there for a while there. Like, I think they knew her first name. I could tell too. I walked in there one time with her for lunch, and they totally just smiled at her and like waved her to her table as if. And I was like, "Whoa!"
It's reserved for her.
That's right.
And then hold on, I got a couple more things, hidden gems. UW Oshkosh Sports. I am a huge fan of our Titans, and I think that they are Oshkosh, we have the Herd, we have the Glow, but you know what? We have our amazing college sports, and I'm a big fan of the men and women's basketball team, and it's family friendly, and I would encourage you to come and support them in the football team and everything, and our theater and performance arts. This is the one thing that I think that people in Oshkosh don't know about. We have amazing music program, and we have this beautiful theater. I mean, this what do you call that? The auditorium.
The auditorium.
Yeah. And you gotta come, and it's oftentimes it's really cheap, and you get really amazing quality. So those are things I would think are hidden gems.
I can't stress that enough. What I have learned, and being married to someone who is a local of Oshkosh, I don't think the local people born and raised Oshkosh get an opportunity to know all the cool things that do happen on campus. And you're invited. You're totally invited, and I would like to encourage also, there's cool things like our sports teams. Guess what? They're good. Like they've been winning conference championships and winning national championships, and you need to go see those. And that theater is a beautiful theater, and we do have this amazing music program. There's not an invisible force field around campus. Come on in. They would love to see you, and it is by far an affordable thing to do and always family friendly.
Absolutely.
Right? Did you have one more? Was that it?
I think those are the other stuff. I mean, I'm sure the other ones have already been mentioned in the Whitewash Trail. I mean, those and then the Menominee Park. I mean, all those things are great. I mean, but those things that I mentioned, I really love, and I think that people in Oshkosh could take advantage of it.
All right. Shout out to Thunderbird again. If you are listening, we need to have you on.
I think I should get a special discount.
Bruh. All right. What's the Kosh need?
Okay, so we need a really big independent bookstore. I love Karma Crisp. They have a beautiful cafe, a gift store, an ice cream shop, and a bookstore. But I think we need a really big independent bookstore that is folks like a Barnes and Noble, only independent, and bring in authors and readings and things like that. I just think that's one thing that we're missing here.
Yeah. We used to have that one bookstore.
Yeah, the Paper Tiger, and it went away. But yeah, I would love to have one downtown. I mean, I think that would be a great literary hub, and bring local authors in and national authors in. I think it would be awesome to have an independent bookstore. You know what?
Now that you say that, it surprises me actually. Maybe that we don't have one due to the fact that we are a college city in a sense, and we have lots of readers in Oshkosh, and okay, that makes sense. Next segment. It is the Naughty/Heroes Corner. This is your opportunity to nominate someone, something, organization, whatever, to the Naughty or the Heroes Corner.
Well, I know I already brought up Aaron Rodgers, but the NFL, I think it belongs on the Naughty column because, they are the ones who the organization actually assigns the fines and penalties. And Aaron was fined, I think, like a little under $15,000 for his violation of the COVID protocols that they set, and yet another player from another team was fined more than that for having his jersey untucked. And I'm thinking, what? Where is the fairness in this?
Yeah, so, consistency.
I know, absolutely. And I'm like, what? So it's like, okay, they belong on the naughty column because again, we talk about the privilege and of certain people. And
well, they did fine the Packers $300,000.
That's true, but I mean,
which surprised me because I was like, what? And I'm wondering, and I didn't understand that fine. I haven't read an article about it yet, and I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I'm assuming that the fine for the Packers is because the team knew.
Right. Well, actually, the NFL knew. They all knew. It's just the only people that we didn't know. The fans didn't know.
The fans didn't know.
And the media didn't know. But it was just crazy. I mean, I'm like, but yeah, I think you just got to be, if you're going to set a rule, be consistent across the board kind of thing, right?
I'm just about, you're right. My whole thing is fairness, and whatever you're going to do, you have to do for all. And you can't be these people out here, well, people need to do this. And then you cherry pick who it applies
exactly.
to.
Right.
Right. Then no. That's where the problem comes from, is when the cherry picking happens. And to me, you either let them all go or you persecute them all.
Right.
But whatever it is, it should be straight across the board. I have no problem whichever side of the fence it's on.
Right.
All right.
On the hero side, so on my personal Facebook timeline, I have pictures that's populating my timeline of little kids, 5 to 12-year-olds, who are now allowed, they to get their vaccinations, and it's just all these pictures of smiling kids showing off their biceps, doing their power, Superman, the double bicep pose. I love that so much. It always brings tears of joy to my eyes, because these kids, they were waiting. I mean, they know that, one mom posted that her daughter was getting in line to get her shot, and somebody asked her, "So are you afraid?" She said, "Just a little bit, but I know when I get it, I'm going to not just help me, but I'm going to help my mom." And it turned out the mom is immunocompromised. So she understands, okay? So I just love that. So those are my little heroes. My little heroes this week are those little kids willing to go and get the shot to help not only their family, but everybody. And they, and again, they want to go and play.
To our youth. All right. Now we are into topic of the week. All right. So, Grace, you want to share with us what the topic of the week is?
I am a fan. It's the power of storytelling. I am just a fan of stories. I love listening to people's stories. I love to, to tell stories. So, it is how powerful this mechanism is to communicate, So, the power of storytelling.
All right. Let's get into it. What do you got?
I got to start from the beginning, I guess. Growing up, I loved reading Stephen King books.
Ooh.
And they're scary. And when you're a little kid, I was like early teens, and I discovered Stephen King and started reading him voraciously. And I decided that I was going to be the female Stephen King when I grew up. Okay, and so I was going to write scary books, be an author. And then the reality hit. I come from a family that believes, in being productive citizens, which means you need to get a job, pay taxes, and contribute to society in a productive and good way. So the idea back then of being a creative writer was not just something that I was like, I don't know if I can get a job doing that. Who does? So I went into journalism, and you know what? So I got my degree at the University of Texas in journalism, and it was, telling stories and like real stories about real people was sometimes even more fantastical than the stuff that Stephen King was writing and had been writing. So I became a journalist, and I read somewhere that some woman was saying, an author saying that she's just fascinated by people she doesn't understand. And I kind of hold that, and that's kind of my motto too. I am absolutely fascinated, and I want to know about them. So my first job out of college was working as a crime reporter for the Austin American Statesman, where for me to have a great day as a reporter covering crime, what do you think needs to happen?
Crime.
Yep. So I had to see I got to see the worst of humanity. On top of that, in concert with that, I got to see the best of humanity. So I got to talk to murderers, but then I got to talk to the heroes who saved some baby from a fire. I mean, I got to see a gamut of humanity there. So again, these are these stories I just love. And but more recently, what I have learned about the Humans of Oshkosh storytelling project is that the stories that my students and I have been telling for the past, since 2014, are powerful. For instance, one of the stories that one of the community partners we had was the United Way of Oshkosh, when they came to us and asked if we could help them with their campaign on women and children in poverty. So we devoted a whole book to stories of people in the Boys and Girls Club, the food pantry, the community pantry, the St. Vincent's Habitat for Humanity, and Day by Day Warming Shelter. And then, I had my students go out and talk to the volunteers who work at those places, the clients that they served, the very few paid employees, because these organizations often rely on the core of volunteers, the big-hearted volunteers.
Right.
And when we were at the Day by Day Warming Shelter, we met a guy. And it was, when I asked my students the first day, actually, before we started on this project, I asked them, what does poor look like to you? Okay, so that was a thought-provoking question for the first day of class. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
So I had them. I said, "Be honest." I said, "Be honest, and it's write down what you think." Okay, there's no judgment here. So they came back with words like this. I mean, I don't know, like the word association kind of thing. Mm-hmm. They came back with dirty, uneducated, unemployed. Dirty skin, dirty hair. I mean, addiction. I mean, they had to come up with a bunch of really harsh imagery, okay?
Right.
And then I had to share with them my own story that I hadn't shared for a long time. And that when my parents came to America, the first 10 years of our lives here in America, my dad was not paid as a pastor. He was like a volunteer pastor. He worked a third shift at a meat packing factory. Okay, he worked as a dishwasher for Denny's, and that's how we lived. And then but the thing is that my brother and I were little kids. We didn't know what was up, and there was no lack of love. Where there was always food on the table. There was always a roof over our head. But then when I would ask my mom, can we go to my friend would have like a polo shirt or whatever, and I say, hey, I would like one, and then she'll say, you know what, we can always find that same thing or something similar, and it's it's closer. I want to go to JCPenney's or Sears, where my friends went. They said we'll go to Goodwill, and we'll find the same thing, and it's closer. And I said, all right, so we go to Goodwill, and here I am thinking that Goodwill is just like JCPenney and Sears.
Right.
I don't know any better. Okay?
Right.
And I wore my shirt. I wore a shirt to school, and I was really proud of it. And one of my girlfriends, this has been 4th grade. And she said, where'd you get that shirt? And I said, Goodwill. I was so proud. And she said, Goodwill? That's for poor people. And that was the first time that I realized that I was poor in her eyes, and that I was less than. I felt less than. And I'm thinking, wow. I mean, and so I shared that story with my students. And then I said, we're going to be doing these stories. Okay, so that man that we saw at the Day by Day Warming Shelter had this photo. I asked, the student asked, about her family. I mean, how did he ended up at the Day by Day Warming Shelter? And he just said he had health issues, and one thing led to another, and that so many people were living paycheck to paycheck, and by missing some paychecks, he ended up homeless.
Yep.
But here's the thing: he had kept one thing of value. And it was a car, and I can't remember what year it was, like a 1964 something car, that he has been saving for his son. And after school, he would go, excuse me. After school, he would go and pick up his son. They walk, and they would work on that car. They would be doing that together, right? Right. And this is something that he's saving for his son. And my student, came back from that interview and just said, he's a dad who loves his son. He's not this, this yucky homeless guy or something like that. This is a guy who had some health issues, and one thing led to another. But he's like my dad who loves me as much, and he loves his son. So this is the thing that this project allowed my students to see these segments of this population more than just the statistics. They're people. So here comes the power of storytelling. So at least my students were affected that way. During the, like halfway through the semester, I had a student that came to me in my office hour, and she said, those stories that we've been working on? And I said, yes. And then she said, they're about my mom and me. Then she shared her own story about how they had lived in, in a car. They have actually lived in a car, and that they had relied on St. Vinny's to help them out to pay electricity, with their program. So, and I'm thinking, I was like stunned. I mean, she looks like this fresh-faced, sophomore, and she said what she wanted to do was tell her mother's story. She said, can I tell her, and I said, are you sure? Because this is going to be out in the public. This is going to be on Facebook. We're going to put it in a video. This is going to be in a book. And she said, yes, she wants her story told. And it was phenomenal. And I just thought, one of her, she actually gave a public speech about this. And she started with, what does poor look like? She used my question. And then she ended with, poor looks like me. And it was just,
wow.
Yeah. And so, okay, even further than that year, the Day by Day Warming Shelter had a number of our books that they sent to certain people. And the director at that time had told me that year they raised more money than they had before. And I had to believe, because we put a face and a voice and a name to these people that these donors have been serving,
Right.
And so the power of storytelling, absolutely, that was actually like quantified. Yeah, I can go on, but.
Oh, well, yeah. No, I literally got goosebumps because I felt that. And that whole poor poverty thing, like, I think a lot of people are a lot closer to it than they realize, or there's a lot of people that don't realize, like, that they might be in it because they're living on credit cards or whatever the situation is, right? And it doesn't take much to end up there, right? It's like it's a paycheck away for many.
Sure.
Literally.
I mean, I think financial advisors say that you should have like 6 months. Like, you can, if something happens.
3 months. 3 months is the thing.
Well, I've heard that, but the thing is that I don't have that.
Right.
I mean, in my retirement plan, is solely based on my. I tell my best friend, I say, I'm sure hoping you are putting aside for me and John.
Right. I need some retirement help too.
So yeah. So I mean, so my students, we've done a number of these stories focusing on certain segments of the of our community. We did one on the first responders, which was really, again, really incredible in the sense that our first responders. I mean, if you think about it, we are able to sleep at night because there are people outside working around the clock without our knowing, keeping our community safe. And I don't want to be like a blind cheerleader of sorts, but I gotta say though, I am. When I say I'm fascinated by people, I don't understand. I don't understand people who run toward bullets. Okay, I don't understand people who run toward the burning building. I don't understand people who jump into freezing waters because somebody else, some drunken person, fell in it. I mean, we have that every single year, but somebody else is going to jump in and save that person. I don't understand those people, okay? But I am so grateful for these people who actually do those kind of jobs that's counterintuitive for the rest of us who want to just run away.
Agreed. So, you've talked about books. Are these available? Can people get them? I mean, if Kosh listeners are like, hey, Grace, I need to learn, or I need more, or I want to see these. How is that possible?
Okay, so yes, the short answer is yes, and the more involved answer is this. The most recent book is available at Reeve Union at UW Oshkosh, and you can go to the website, the bookstore website. And our latest book is actually a 200-page book on the 150th year of UW Oshkosh, and it was a celebration for the sesquicentennial. So my students and I, interviewed alumni, students, and staff about their experiences here at UW Oshkosh, and I'm very proud of that book because it has a lot of really cool things. So for those of you who love UW Oshkosh, I only have like 50 copies left, and you can get a discount. So go to the bookstore. The other books, the other Humans of Oshkosh books, we haven't put on the website yet. But if you email me, I am happy to give you, to let you know what I have available. We have like ones for teachers, the one on women and children in poverty, and then the first responders. We have, what else do we have? Veterans. I mean, we had one focusing on veterans. So we have a number of those. And I don't know if you can put anything on your website. Can you?
Oh, yeah. I can. We will have links on the website. We can look within the notes of the podcast.
Perfect. So I will give Timber all the information, and all the proceeds from the sales of these books goes to the fund at UW Oshkosh Foundation that helps support the projects that my students and I do. So, yeah. It's pretty amazing when I look at the body of work that the students have done. This is where the love comes in, and then the frustration comes at the beginning of every semester.
Let me tell you, as somebody who's worked with Grace, it is a love-hate relationship that happens with these projects. When they're finished, there's a lot of love and there's a lot of challenge while we're trying to get them finished. Let me tell you, and there's no messing around. They are fantastic,
right.
though.
No, it's amazing. And that I had a former student come back to talk to my current students, and she actually said, I can't believe she said it to them, but she said, there are times when you want to kill Grace. But then then at the end you say, "Oh my gosh, we did this! How the heck do we do this?"
For all those out there who don't know, I tease Grace all the time that she missed her true calling as a drill sergeant.
Yeah, and Jimmer, you are absolutely right, because I tell my students right off the bat that look, I am going to the things that you have to grade. I mean, that's the thing, is that you assign grades to students, but truly, my class is a pass-fail, and I'm going to drag you across that finish line. I mean, not literally, but but I'm going to drag you, and we're going to work. We're going to work really hard. And I said, just do your job, man. Just do your job.
Do your job. Famous words. Love it. Love it. All right. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Are we at my parting words here?
No. Wait. No, parting words come at the very end. But we are if you are wrapping up your topic, we are wrapping up the main topic.
Yeah. No, I just, like I said, I am a big fan of stories, and I encourage everybody to tell their stories. I mean, especially, if you have grandparents, older people in the family, I would encourage you to start asking them questions, tape it, because those are going to be treasures. And,
that's true.
Just keep on telling. And this is how the stories really do connect us as a community. I learn about people by talking to them. We talk, we share, we exchange our stories, and this is how we get to become a community.
Yes. All right. All right. Well, we're getting to the point of the show. We're going to start winding down. Once again, Kosh listeners out there, I want to say thank you for tuning in. I can't stress that I'm always surprised at people who I run into, and they're like, "Hey, I listened to that episode. I recently went to the Herd game, and we did some shout outs to teachers at Washington Elementary School, because that's where my daughter went, and I ran into Mrs. Kroll, and Mrs. Kroll's like, I totally heard the episode, and thank you for the show. Yes, people. And so thank you all out there who are listening to the Kosh. Once again, you know this is a work in progress. We are always trying to get better. We are always trying to grow, and I need you to do that. Please, please, please feel free to email us at askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, that is askthekosh@gmail.com. Now, it is that time. It is my favorite time in the show. It is shout out time. This is the opportunity to get your shout outs in. So, Grace, who you want to shout out?
When you say who or what?
Well, you can shout out whatever you want. It's shout outs.
Okay, so I'm going to give a shout out to the TEDx Oshkosh. For those of you who don't know what that is, I mean, you've heard of TED Talks. I mean, you've probably gone to YouTube and listened to a few of them and watched a few of them. Oshkosh actually hosts its own TED Talks. I mean, it's a TEDx Oshkosh, and we have one next Saturday. In fact, at the Grand Opera House, it's a day long of speakers who are going to talk about a whole bunch of array of really interesting topics. And one of my former students actually is going to be a speaker. She wrote a first person essay in my class, in a journalism class, and I'm not going to get. I'll just give you a little teaser on that, and it's about how society views people who are felons. Okay, and this young woman wrote a first person essay and made everybody cry, including my really tough boys. Okay, we all had tears streaming by the end, and I told her this is really good. We should get this published, and then I encouraged her to submit her a pitch, pitch to TEDx Oshkosh, and it's highly competitive. They get pitches from all over the country, sometimes from other countries, and she was one of I think 15 or 16 speakers, and I think they had a 4% acceptance rate. Ooh. I mean, so she is going to be one of the speakers. We're going to have other speakers. The guy who started Politico.com, who was now co-owner of Axios. Yes. Jim Vandehei is going to be there.
Awesome.
I mean, so we have so TEDx Oshkosh. I love that, and I feel like I am a big fan of my campus community, and I just learned that we are getting a pep band. And it's called the Bolt, which is awesome, and I am giving them a shout out because I can't wait because. Yeah, at the football games, every time they play a canned music, we're pretending that we're, my friends and I were pretending we're part of the band and we're marching and we're, I'm playing my imaginary cymbals. So now I am totally hoping that they might have a section for faculty members, because I totally want to play the bass drum with cymbals.
I like it.
I think that's what the shout outs I have right now. I'm sure I'll think of something the minute we say, until the minute I leave.
Oh, well, if you get back at me, we can add shout outs in the notes.
Oh, hold on, honey. You know what? One thing that I do, for those of you who don't know that, Humans of Oshkosh featured Timber on Thursday, as to honor the veterans in our country, and you should all go and read that story. Every time I read that story, it makes me cry. And Timber is a wonderful storyteller, and he's a veteran, and he's and it's something that you and I should talk about. Is this? I am a big fan of our military members, and I always. Again, I'm fascinated by people who do things that I just don't understand, which is one of the things is that our nation has a voluntary military force, armed forces, okay? So people actually volunteer knowingly that they could very well be deployed to a war zone or a place of conflict. And I'm thinking again, why? And then the other thing I was thinking about is that phrase, thank you for your service. I always feel like that I feel like that's almost like the people, the veterans that we've talked to in the interview, they always feel a little embarrassed by that phrase. And part of me I don't want to say that anymore, and I don't know what else to say, because I don't want to seem like a automatic thing. Oh, you're a veteran. Oh, thank you for your service, and then be done with that. I mean, what is a better thing to say?
I don't have one. I sincerely don't. And in the past we have done. We even did a panel on it, and how do veterans and everybody, veterans are as diverse as America because they are America. And there's people who feel highly uncomfortable with it, and there's people who are very comfortable with it. And there's those, and depending on what time period you served in or what conflict you may have served in, there were the reverence of those who have served was not always there by our country and our fellow citizens. And so there's people who run the gamut in emotion and how they feel. So it's a very individualized thing. And I don't have a good answer.
One thing I've learned to do, though, is if I do find somebody who had served in the military, rather than, if it just slips out that thank you for your service, I try to follow up with something else. Where did you serve? When did you serve? And having an actual conversation then, rather than just have that simple statement.
Yes.
So I think that some of our veterans had said that to us too, that they would like to have an actual conversation.
Yeah, I think showing true interest.
Yep.
I think that's important. All right. So my shout outs. I'd like to give a shout out to the Herd. There was the first game this week. We won in a buzzer beater. The Herd was oh my God, it was so good. It was fabulous. It felt good. You know what felt good, Grace? To be back together again. And I can't stress that enough. To just be in the arena, to have the energy, to have a game, to do something societally together. I can't stress it enough. So shout out to the Herd. And hey, Herd players, if you're out there listening, I would love to have any Herd players on the Kosh. All right. Shout out to my man Tarman. Always a shout out to my man Tarman. And shout out to Maria at the PAC. Good looking out. And since Veterans Day was this last Thursday, shout out to all those who have served, of course, and a special shout out to Justin Drabeck. Justin, got your email. I appreciate you sharing the things. Justin's moving to the area, and so he listens to the Kosh. He was listening to the Kosh to learn about Oshkosh. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, right? Like somebody is listening so they can learn where they're moving to and who we are.
You're getting big, Timur.
I'm not getting big. I'm just a man with a funny name. All right, Grace, we are almost at the end here, and this is your opportunity. What parting words of wisdom do you have for the Kosh listeners?
So at the end of every semester, I do have parting words for my students, which I think are appropriate for the listeners of this podcast. I always, Anderson Cooper, who is an anchor of CNN, I think during one of his senior the commencement speeches, one of his speeches, had said something like, never underestimate the value of out hustling everyone else. Okay. And I really like that sentiment. Okay. That, even in our advanced ages, that I like to work hard. And I think that, that we should continue to do that in whatever we do. And the other ones, and I tell my students is that, remember that words have power. I mean, absolute power. They have great power, and please use them for good. Okay. And then lastly, I tell them, if you're going to drink, please don't drive. And if you smoke, just stop.
I feel that. Grace, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you, Kosh listeners. The Kosh.